Um, Today, I'm going to be focused on the Adult Tobacco Survey, or ATS, as I may call it throughout as I'm talking, but I've also included towards the end some of our ends tracker data that we just recently had our Q2 data dissemination from our vendor. And so we'll have Q3 in October, but I thought you might be interested in sharing a little bit of the Q2 as well. So I will be sharing both of those, and let me know if these, as I advance my slides, if these are looking right. Okay, does that look right? Okay, we're moving. All right, so today I'm going to be talking about two iterations of the Adult Tobacco Survey, one for 2020 and one for 2023. And we conducted our 2020 version as was regularly scheduled in 2020. And as a reminder, we conduct ATS every even year, and we alternate that with our Youth Tobacco Survey, or our YTS, which is conducted every odd year. So we did the 2020 version, and then the 2022 version was actually conducted in 2023 due to a contractual vendor change. So I'll explain that a little more as I go through. So let's start with our 2022 version. Our 2022 version was fraught with multiple challenges that we had to address, including a really sudden and unexpected change in our data collection vendor, which resulted from the closing of the lab of our established vendor that had actually been doing ATS and since its original inception. So that was quite a challenge to actually even find somebody to conduct the ATS for us. In addition, as y'all know, 2020, everything that COVID brought to the table, including things that with the new vendor issue and getting up to speed with our survey systems, actually shutting down of the institution, including the lab, that halted data collection for an extended period of time, as well as inability to reach the required sample size because a lot of people refused to participate. Those that were selected in the sample chose to not to participate. And so with all of these issues that came together, as we finally actually got data to analyze, we decided to try to cull together multiple years of the data collection to get like a 2020 to 2022 report that we could offer to people. But despite a lot of work and multiple opportunities, we realized in the end that our data collection vendor had actually not collected a key variable that we really needed to be able to actually have valid and reliable data. So because of that, the lack of that key variable, we find that we are not going to publish the 2020. It's just not reliable enough data. And so we are continuing to try to work with that vendor, but it's just to the point now where we feel like we need to move on because we do have the 2023. And so you'll see in the upcoming data charts that I'm going to share, I've got like a little break or a little blank space that's there for the 2020 data. But despite that, you know, we're just really continuing to see what we can do to move forward with this and be able to go ahead and provide information because we do have the 2023. So setting the 2020 to 2022 aside, let's take a look at what we have for our 2023. Okay, so we've received the results from our data collection partner. So we do have a new vendor in place, which we're very excited about. But there's a few things that I want to make sure that you're aware about our 2023 data collection. We've been really working on data modernization within our division. And over the years, we find that the traditional way of conducting the adult tobacco survey, which is usually random digit dialing and of a specific sample of folks, it's very expensive, first of all, and it just doesn't allow us to be as flexible as we want to. So for 2023, we elected to go with what we're calling ATS Lite. ATS Lite allows us to conduct more frequently because the cost is significantly reduced. It allows us to be more nimble with the data collection, and we can add additional questions to follow some of the changing tobacco trends that we have. We are able to use an address-based electronic approach rather than the random digit telephone dialing, because we're just having continued reduced response by people participating on the phone. So we really had to try to modernize and be able to do something a little different and add that electronic approach in. It uses a smaller sample size for reduced cost, yet it still provides us a better representative sample for the state. And it also allows us to oversample if we need to, if we're finding that we are getting smaller sample response from certain populations. And I can tell you that for this 2023, we did just on the front end decide to oversample our African-American population to make sure that we got an adequate sample size to be able to make comparisons. That being said, very exciting about the new data modernization, but with that, it cannot be directly compared to the previous versions because the methodology is different. So what we have right now, it provides us with rates that are this specific point in time. So with 2023, it will be something that we will be able to develop trends over time. So this is the first year of a new set of trends that we're developing. But to make sure that it is valid and reliable, we will be doing, as we always do, a comparison to our 2023 South Carolina BRFSS to make sure that it's within the confidence interval. So we always have that check and balance, that we make sure that we are within the same confidence intervals of BRFSS. And that has remained true for each iteration we've done. So as soon as that 2023 becomes available, we are going to make those comparisons for reliability and validity. But given that that's still data collection is still ongoing with that, we did want to go ahead and share results because it's been a while since we've had a chance to share results. So all that being said, let's take a look at some data. All right, so looking at prevalence, if you wanted, I wanted to include trends prior to, and then you see 2020, we have our little break in there. So looking prior to 2020, you can see that our prevalence rate of adult cigarette smoking remained fairly consistent, anywhere between 18 and 20%. We didn't see any significant changes over a longer period of time. When we look specifically at our point of 2023 and not comparing it to previously, but just our point of 2023, we see that we have a really nice lower rate of adult smoking than we've seen ever before. So 2023, our point prevalence is 11.8%. That's exciting because that takes South Carolina out of the tobacco nation states, which is something that we've been in for a while because our adult prevalence had not changed. So very exciting to see that we are really kind of hovering around what the actual 2020 healthy people objective was, which was 12%. So now that's a lot lower for the 2030, but hey, we're at the 2020. So very exciting about that. So when we look at some of the breakdowns, just taking a look at some of the trends and the rates that tend to be higher, we want to first take a look at our prevalence by race. If you look in previous years, not comparing the trend, but if you look in previous years, we had higher rates when we introduced, especially when we introduced our American Indian Alaska Native population. And then the other category has always been one of those strange ones that it's kind of a catch-all. And we've done a lot better job as we've gone through the years in breaking out our racial and ethnic populations to be able to see what their smoking rates are looking like. So, definitely looking with our American Indian and our Hispanic population previously, and looking just at our point prevalence in 2023, we see that our American Indian population is at the highest rate of those who are using tobacco. So certainly something that is of concern. looking also at our Hispanic population, that is the second highest. I'm excited to say that we have introduced quite a few new programs in our division to try to offer culturally appropriate cessation services for both the American Indian and the Hispanic population in South Carolina. But just, as we're starting to build this new trend line, certainly something that we want to keep in mind and want to really try to accelerate our efforts within this population. All right, something else that has over the years been something of concern is the prevalence by educational rates. So looking at those with lower educational attainment, as opposed to those with higher educational attainment, we see that traditionally those with less than high school or high school use cigarettes at a significantly higher rate than those with higher education. And again, looking at our point prevalence, we can see that lower educational attainment still remains an indicator for cigarette smoking. We can see that our less than high school is at our highest rates, followed by the high school GED, and then on down to the college and higher. So definitely something that we need to continue to keep top of mind. Even though we're not comparing those trends, we are still seeing that those with lower educational attainment tend to use cigarettes at a higher rate. So definitely something that we want to keep our mind on. We have been looking at menthol pretty significantly over the past few years and wanted to share the rates of prevalence of our adult smokers using menthol products. You can see that from our trends between 2010 and 2018, it was over 50%. So over half of our adult smokers were using menthol products. Just at our point prevalence at our break, we can see that has lowered to around 7%. But keep in mind, it's the 7% of our 11.8% of tobacco users. So it's still a fairly significant portion of our tobacco users, especially our cigarette smokers, are still using menthol products. So definitely something that remains a key issue in our state. All right, so as we look at menthol use then by race and ethnicity, we tend to see from our traditional data that our African-American population, African-American or Black population, and Hispanic population have traditionally been our highest users of menthol cigarettes. And then looking just at our point prevalence in 2023, we see that remains fairly true, but that our Hispanic population actually is a higher use of our menthol, followed by our African-American or Black, and then Native American. So definitely menthol continues to be an issue. We're continue to hope that the FDA action on menthol comes fairly soon, because we feel like it can make a tremendous impact on the cigarette smoking rates in our state, seeing that we have such a high rate of folks that use menthol products. All right. We often talk about e-cigarette use among youth, but don't talk so much about e-cigarette use among adults. So what does that look like? Well, traditionally, we actually started collecting that in 2014. As y'all know, as the products evolved and became more prevalent to the market. So prior to between 2014 and 2018, we saw a rate right around 6%, a little over 6%, moving towards 7%. Our point prevalence for 2023, we find at 7.5%. So, obviously we can't compare, but we're seeing, higher rates of adults starting to use e-cigarettes. And as we look from a breakdown, particularly by age, you can definitely see that the younger people that are using e-cigarettes at a higher rate, as they move and age into our adult surveys, they are continuing to raise the e-cigarette use rate among because the younger ages, so 18 to 24 and 25 to 34, in our trend, of course, before, and then just at our point prevalence, we see our 18 to 24 rate around 20%. So definitely something that we need to keep an eye on. And unfortunately, we can expect to see those rates continue to go up and to grow if we don't get a handle on that youth use. So we're seeing our cigarette rates continuing to go down, but we're starting to see a little bit of a rise in our e-cigarettes, which makes sense based on our youth population getting older. All right, so let's take a look at some of our cessation trends just for a second. There's a lot of work that goes into our cessation programs in South Carolina, and this slide's a little bit busy, but in essence, what we were seeing over time was a bit of a trend up in the number of cigarette smokers who were advised to quit by a healthcare provider, who were aware of the quit line or other cessation aid, and who used a quit line or cessation aid. So over time in our previous trends, we were seeing some nice increases there. As we look just at our point prevalence, I don't think I've ever seen this, but a remarkable rate of our cigarette smokers in South Carolina, 100% were advised to quit by their healthcare provider. So very excited to see that increase and see that a lot of the fruits of our labors have been paying off from that standpoint. We have over half of our cigarette smokers in the state are aware of the quit line or other cessation aid. But where we're kind of falling short, as you can see, is those who actually use the quit line or cessation aids to make a quit attempt. So we really need to see what we can do to try to close this gap, because we know that those that use these proven effective cessation aids and resources have a better rate at quitting and have a more sustained quit over time. All right, let's take a look at some of our secondhand smoke exposure trends. And this is going to be another bit of a busy slide for you guys, but I thought it made more sense to kind of look at it from this standpoint. So taking a look at our trends from 2010 to 2018, we see that our indoor and outdoor public places remained our highest rates of adults being exposed to secondhand smoke, followed by our indoor or outdoor workplaces, in the vehicle, and then at home. So if you look over our trends, we were seeing a bit of a nice drop of those who were using in the home, but continue to see the indoor and outdoor public places. As we look at our 2023 point prevalence, our indoor and outdoor public places remain the highest rates of where people are exposed to secondhand smoke. So definitely showing the need for us to continue our work towards municipal smoke-free protections so that folks can continue to try to reduce their exposure in these various places. Vehicle actually popped up second, so that's very interesting to see that. And then that's followed by the indoor outdoor workplaces and then by the home. All right, so that's our secondhand smoke information. Let's take a look. Let me take a break here right now before I start with any of our ends tracker information to see if there are any questions on any of the data thus far. I do want to point out that this is just a snapshot of some of our higher interest rates. We do have a lot of extensive data that is in the detailed tables that we'll be releasing. I just took a snapshot given the fact that we have a short amount of time to talk about it, but there are other indicators. So if there are things that you are interested in that you did not see in any of those slides, please let me know and we can take a deeper dive together. And again, we'll also be releasing a full report on all of the detailed tables that we have. That will be posted on our DHEC website in our tobacco report area, kind of our repository, once it's fully approved for distribution. And we'll also make sure to share that with you, Barbara, so that you can share it out to all of the partners when that's posted and available.
Thanks. That's great.
Okay. Super. Any questions about any of the data that I've shared previously?
We've got a quiet crowd today.
Okay, that's all right. That's all right. I think everyone's just excited and overwhelmed, right?
That's it.
I mean, everybody's excited about the fact that our smoking rate is down to 11.8%. I know I am. I think it's fantastic. Absolutely wonderful. All right. So for those of you who are aware, or those of you who are not aware, we have a wonderful tool within our division that we partner with Research Triangle Institute in North Carolina to do what we call our ends tracker. And this helps us really have some insights on tobacco product and particularly e-cigarette use across South Carolina. The data is collected from Nielsen, and it's actually Nielsen scanner data. So what we are able to see is market share and monthly profits and those types of things across all of the different e-cigarette brands. We're also able to see as new products emerge and start to take higher proportions of the market share. So it really helps us kind of keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on with our e-cigarette products, and hopefully to be able to identify any things like what happened with Juul, where Juul just kind of came out of nowhere and just really spiked up in its use. So I pulled together some of our Q2. This is to the end of April for our Q2 information, and we will be getting our Q3, which is kind of over the summer months, in October. So we'll have that available to share as soon as we get that report in October, but I'm excited to share some Q2 information with everyone. So let's take a look at our ends tracker information. So let's look at top brands by market share to start with. Again, we have on our trend line, you can see all the way back a year, but you can see now kind of where we are for that second quarter that ended in the first part of April. We see that Vuse Alto is the #1 used product in e-cigarettes, #1 purchased product, I should say, according to market share in South Carolina, followed by Juul, then Elf Bar, then King Vape, then Cali Plus. Across the country, they are seeing significant declines in Juul use. But in South Carolina, Juul still is the #2 market share product. So definitely something that we are a little different than the nation in the products that are used, and certainly don't want to start ignoring Juul just because there's been a lot of changes. It's dropped significantly in the United States, but as you can see, it's still one of the top market share brands in South Carolina. So definitely needs our continued interest and concern. As we look at monthly dollar sales, you can see this kind of follows closely along with the market share, but in taking a look just all total, we can see that our vaping products are raising about a little over $7.5 million per month for our vaping industry. So definitely a highly profitable market for the e-cigarette industry, and something that we definitely need to be addressing in our state. It's again led by Vuse Alto with around a $4.3 million mark in monthly sales, followed by Juul at 1.6 million, Elf Bar around 750,000, then King Vape, which is around 460,000. But I mean, just considering that this is month by month, over 7.5 million for the past how many months. So just really alarming at the profitability of these products for these companies. All right, so let's take a little look at some of these products then and see what's trending with the products for the marketing, particularly internet marketing that we're seeing. Many products with very high youth appeal are dominating the market, as you can see. Other things such as flavors are continuing to be highly appealing to our young people, highly in demand across all of the different social media platforms, just really showing the importance of flavor restrictions across the country, and really hoping that FDA can take a stand on these flavored products because they're extremely highly marketed. We also saw real increases in contests and giveaways throughout the quarter, as well as the fact that many of the products introduced were getting much smaller and much more concealable, which of course, just in time for back to school. So very concerning from that standpoint. And then, you know, seeking engagement and new testers across all of the social media platforms, new devices coming out, tester and review wanted. And of course, if you want to give your dad a super Father's Day present, give him a vape. So yeah, definitely something of great concern for us as we continue to look at this marketing. And then some of the highest offenders in my book, the SpongeBob vapes, the vapes that are shaped like water bottles, promotions using popular tactics like emojis, which are very highly used among young people, and trying to elicit engagement and response across the social media platforms. So certainly something that we want to keep our eye on and make sure that we are staying aware of what's going on with all these different products. I actually have a breakdown. I did some research, some further research on the top 5 brands that we have in South Carolina for market share and profitability, the Views Alto, the Jewel, and the other products, and just kind of understanding where these products are, what are their manufacturers, how are they affiliated with our big tobacco companies, and then any of the other information that we can glean from these. And of course, all of those are not FDA approved products on the market. They have not completed pre-market review and been approved for being on the market, yet they continue to have the highest market share and the highest profitability in South Carolina. So certainly something of great concern that we all need to keep an eye on and make sure that we're aware and can educate appropriately for these products. All right, so that concludes my presentation. Are there any questions on the INS tracker data that I can answer, or anything that may have come back up from the initial presentation of the ATS data? I'm happy to take questions.
I think it's a scary, scary world we have out there for our youth today.
Absolutely. You know, we talk about how offensive some of these products are, but when you see SpongeBob shaped vapes and when you see water bottle shaped vapes, it's just really, really alarming. And there can't be any public health benefit to any of those products. You don't really see adults running around with a SpongeBob vape, I don't think. So
Yeah.
it's definitely something for us to keep in mind.
Sharon, can some of that data, especially with the products and the amount sold per month for South Carolina, can that be broken down by regions?
Some of it can. We get more of the advertising data by the market, the DMAs, the market areas where they come. I don't know that we can break it down specifically, but we'll have to go back and take a look. It's a deep and a wide tracker. It not only tracks INS products, it tracks cigarettes, it tracks smokeless tobacco, and it tracks nicotine replacement therapy products as well. So we'll go back and take a look and see how deep we can get into some of the more granular data.
That'd be helpful. Thank you.
Sure. Absolutely. Any other questions? So I do want to let everybody know that we have a new surveillance and evaluation director on board with our division, Dr. Rajiv Mava. He was not able to join us today, but you will begin to see him more frequently. He will soon become the face of our data and our efforts within the division, but was not able to join us today, unfortunately. But we're excited to welcome Rajiv to the team. He's just a wonderful colleague and has a lot of great experience in the world of HIV and AIDS that he is able to kind of bring forward and kind of look more from a population-based standpoint. So lots of great partnerships that he's been able to bring over, and we're just super excited to have him.
We'll have him on soon.
That'll be great.
Introduce him to everybody.
That sounds fantastic. And I do also want to just mention that we are preparing to go into the field for our 2023 youth tobacco survey. So our package is in IRB review right now, and we anticipate there being youth tobacco survey administration in our schools, hopefully starting around the end of October and early November. We will be doing a different style of youth tobacco survey this year, in that we are moving to an electronic administration. So that's very exciting. I think the kids will respond a lot better to the electronic administration than our Scantrons with our number 2 pencils, as we've done in the past. So be on the lookout for more information about YTS administration this fall.
They're not into the Scantron with the pencils.
You know, they'll answer part of it, and then they'll just kind of leave a little part of it. And sometimes you get the Scantrons back and they're shaped like a Christmas tree or something like that. So we're excited with the electronic administration that we can put in skip patterns and different things like that that will reduce the time it will take for the students to take the surveys.
That's great. That's great. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Sharon, so much for this. There was a lot of great information.
My
And
pleasure.
if we can put your slides out there, we'd be great, along with the recording. We'll have that on our website next week, I believe.
Sounds great.
Yeah, thank you so much. We'll give everybody some time back today, unless anybody's got anything they want to update. But I did want to mention that our advocacy training is going to be held on Wednesday, October 18th in Columbia at the Palmetto Club. It's a free training, and it will help our partners to establish a grassroots effort in their own communities. And so I've put the link to registration in the chat, and it's also available on our website. So if anybody on the call is not getting our newsletter or hasn't seen an email about the advocacy training, I'm going to put my email in the chat so that you can contact me if you're interested, and we will send you the link. So we're really excited about this. We're going to have a lot of great speakers. And at the end of the day, we're going to walk over to the State House, take a picture on the State House steps, and then meet with a representative to discuss all the issues, hopefully. So we'll overwhelm them with all of our data. But anyway, we hope to see a lot of you there. And if that's not it, I'll give you all back 15, 20 minutes. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks again, Sharon. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.